We're good. We're up, I think. Oh.
We're in?
Yep.
Okay. So, if anybody is listening, and if not, they can watch this later, I wanted to introduce my friend Weston or Wes Zimmerman. Hi, Weston.
How's it going?
Weston is I don't even know what to call you, the guru at Tussey Landscaping. I know him through the pond world. And Weston, you are, I've mentioned before, one of the best business people I know. And so we wanted to talk to you a little bit tonight, both about business and estimating, and then also about this super cool program that you helped create that's getting lots of traction. And I know people are really talking about it in the group.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
No, I'm super excited to have him on Weston. I was actually had him on a little while ago, well, a couple hours, I
Yeah.
guess it was on Instagram. He's a rock star. He's a rock star on YouTube. He's everywhere.
Well, glad to be here, and hope we can get
Boy,
get a nugget
Weston,
of.
yeah, we'll just
Yeah.
compliment you all
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
Let's
No,
turn get the spotlight back to the subject. No, just kidding.
no, no. We actually wanted to hop in here tonight and actually talk about estimating and why it's so important to have some kind of systems in place and why you need to know your numbers in order to create accurate estimates, right?
Mhm.
So,
Exactly. So with estimating, I think it ties back to we all want to run a successful business. We all want a decent life and have time to not just to have a life outside of our business as well. And that starts with making a profit and having the financial side of our lives in order. And it links all the way back through to making sure that we're estimating and estimating correctly and estimating with control and with knowledge of what we're doing.
And Weston, I know you mentioned when you and I talked before that people forget things. Like you said, they forget, when you're estimating, you're looking at something, but you're not looking at 10 other things behind it.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a lot of, I guess, tactics that you can use to make sure that doesn't happen. With a software, you can set up templates, or with a spreadsheet, you could have templates. You could also have a checklist if you're still a paper guy. Thank you. Coffee delivery.
I
If
thought
you're
you were
still
going
a
to whip
paper
out
guy,
papers.
yeah. But regardless what system you use, there's ways to implement these principles. And the thing that the software we've developed is just it's at the end of the day, it's just a big time saver. It's puts oil in the gears of streamlining that whole process with estimating and job costing and managing the project.
yeah. Sorry.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. And I think what I'm kind of learning from both of you is, we're with our pond business is according to Weston, we're doing pretty well. So I'm excited to
Hmm.
hear that. But we're one of those people, and I'll just admit it straight out. We charge high, but we're not good at necessarily, like we weren't until we fully understand our numbers. We're not even sure why, kind of why
Yeah,
we come up with what we do.
and you're one of the lucky ones. You were charging high enough, and there's some people that live in a market where they can just charge high and they know they're good in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
But there's plenty out there that are also guessing. That's guessing what you were doing, and they're also guessing and not still and not making it. And I was just talking to a guy. I had a conversation on a Facebook group yesterday. A guy was like, "Hey, I'm charging X amount of square feet per square feet for hardscaping. I can't make any profit." It's like, don't even pay attention to the square foot price.
Yeah.
Don't even. Every job should. The most simplest way I can break it down is like it's a process of determining how much labor do I need, what materials do I need, what do they cost, what subcontractors might I need, what equipment might I need, and then I need to take my costs, apply my overhead recovery multiplier to them to cover my cost of doing business for that week or 2 weeks while I'm doing that project, and then apply your profit on top of that, and you end up with your customer facing price. So it's basically a cost, labor, equipment equation. And if nothing else, I'd like for that to be something that you remember tonight, because I see people getting caught up in this trap of like, oh, I need to be charging X amount of square foot. It doesn't matter if it's in the backyard with tough access or a sidewalk right off the driveway in the front. You know, square foot pricing is something I don't believe in.
I could tell.
I agree with you 100%.
Scott, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I've never have done square foot pricing. Like I've always had customers ask me. I don't do that. I get paid per hour, essentially. That's
I mean, I can tell you what the square foot price is going to be of your job. The final price minus it's 400 square feet. Let me do a math. Yeah, it's going to be that. But that's specific to you. It's not. It's not like my going rate. That's not how I estimate. Yeah, another way people commonly will estimate is like just take their materials times 2 or 3, and depending on what you're doing and the makeup of your business, again, it can be a form of guessing that's relatively consistent. But what I'm talking about is like what I'd love for people to know in terms of knowing their numbers and estimating is actually understand how these numbers work and how they can. It's a cold, hard calculation, no emotion in the judgment process, and you end up with a customer-facing price. And you know, if you charge anything less than that, you're not. You can't afford to take the work. You're not going to generate a profit. In fact, you may lose money or break even. And nobody's in business to break even.
Right. Then you're just supporting the local economy, as I used to call it.
Yeah. So
I see a question there. Wouldn't square foot pricing work once you figure out your numbers and ultimately speed up the estimating process? Yes, but I would not call it square foot pricing. I would call it production rates. So you would figure out it takes me X number of hours per square foot in easy access. It takes me X number of hours per square foot in difficult access. And because labor is only one factor in estimating a job, and I would use production rates like that, but it still doesn't truly equate to just a flat square foot price. It'd be like, yes, here's my production rate, 20 man hours per 100 square feet of pavers. And that does help speed up the process, and you can get quite accurate with that. And it's something we encourage. Like, production rates is that's the right way to go.
Yeah, if you are going to use just square footage prices, to me, it's just to give a rough quote. If you need somebody over the phone that says, hey, I have a 500 square foot patio, what is it? Well, we start at this price based on that. Mm-hmm. But I always like to get the measurements and look at the job, especially because, like you said, you need to know the access. I may have to take down fence panels and carry blocks up a hill or whatever it is. It's always...
We've done your house, and I swear we almost doubled our price for that one because we're like, that's going to take a really long time.
Exactly. That's a perfect example of why square foot pricing doesn't work. And I think everybody knows, like, there's certain exceptions. Even the guys that are charging per square foot, there's certain exceptions they would have to their rule. Mm-hmm. But back to your point, Scott, about giving somebody a ballpark over the phone or something. Yeah, sure. You can figure out your ballpark of $25 to $35 a square foot, depending on all these factors. But the only way I would arrive at that number is looking back over a dozen of my successful jobs, what the square foot of each of those jobs were, what the price was, and do the math and figure out what my average square foot price is. But that's not a quote. That's a ballpark figure. And it's based off of estimates that are labor cost equipment based, you know?
Exactly. Well, like that goes into equipment too. You may have to have a skid steer to carry all this block in, or you may have to, like Laura said, carry stuff through a house. So it's going to change right there. So,
that's right.
No, it's so important. You mentioned earlier overhead. This is something many people I see don't calculate. They don't understand the overhead. They don't even know what goes in overhead, and you have to base everything off of your overhead to charge accordingly.
Exactly. And I think that's where maybe things get a little foggy for some people, to help them understand. And it's to try to explain it as simply as possible. Okay, so you have payroll costs to run a business, all your labor out in the field to produce this work. You have the materials from your vendors, like the hardscape vendors, the pond, landscape, whatever you're buying, all the materials you're buying. And you have your equipment expenses, and you may have subcontractor expenses. And basically overhead is anything that's left. Anything that didn't fall into those 4 categories, that's overhead. And you have to, that could be owner's pay, it could be office admin pay, equipment, insurances and maintenance, whatever you may have, your electric bill, your fuel bill, your trucks, your software, your tools. Yeah. And you have to recover those costs somewhere. And a good business person isn't going to guess or wing it about recovering those costs. They want a good calculation that it's a plan. They know they're going to recover those costs. Mm-hmm. And it's the most... With estimating jobs, kind of bringing it back to how to estimate, I would start with, if you're not estimating in any form or fashion other than just like guessing, I would start with, we have a free spreadsheet, which Laura actually used. Maybe you can speak to that in a little bit. But you basically plug in 6 values: your sales goal, your cost of labor, your cost of materials, your equipment, your subcontractor expenses, if you have any in your business. And then anything that's left, look back over your QuickBooks from last year. Anything that's left is overhead. And then this spreadsheet will tell you what you should mark up your labor and materials, or wherever you want to recover your overhead, before you apply your profit. So if you have a $10 item, you apply, let's say, just for a number, 20% of overhead recovery to that $10 item. Now it's 12. And now you charge your profit margin on top of that 12, not the 10. And you end up with a final price to the customer. So the equation is cost, overhead recovery multiplier, which is what this budgeting spreadsheet helps you do. And then your profit, and this is net profit, not gross. Gross would be the profit you generate with before your overhead got deducted out. And then that generates your customer-facing price. And once you have your overhead recovery multiplier, estimating a job is easy. Take your hard costs times your overhead recovery multiplier times what profit you want to generate, 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever you want. There's your customer-facing price. And you do that on all of your labor, equipment, materials, all 4 chunks of every estimate.
So, Weston, as you know, what you're saying sounds super easy to you.
Yeah,
Just saying,
right.
I'm representing the general person here.
Right.
So we went on to your, and like you said, it's free software. It's this free spreadsheet.
Yep.
You know what happened. My husband and I, first of all, we were doing it like Saturday night at 10 o'clock, which is such a great
Bad
time
idea.
to work on business. We had the biggest fight. And he's like, no, we didn't. I'm like, oh my God, like, forget it. Just forget it. We were arguing. I'm like, that's not right. And I was like, and you know what we were doing? We were making it 10 times more complicated than we had to make it.
Happens all
And
the
I'm
time.
sure that's common, right? So we ended up
Yeah.
scheduling a call with you, and you're like, your numbers are right here. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and you know, you fear what you don't know, or you
Yeah.
hypothetically overcomplicate what you don't understand, and then the moment the
Yeah.
light bulb goes on, you're like, oh, yeah, I get it. So you know, everybody just has to kind of break through that wall in their own mind, and that's my goal with that spreadsheet, is to try to help make that happen for someone that may have never done it before. And what we have on this spreadsheet on our syncedup.com website is you can download this free spreadsheet, and right below the spreadsheet, there's a tutorial video. And we updated this tutorial video after Laura and I's call going over it, just to try to make it more clear, more easy to understand. And so if there's anything that you don't understand after watching the tutorial, leave it in the comments of that video. We'll update it again. But the goal is to try to help someone that has never yet kind of grasped the concept of cost, overhead, profit equals customer-facing price, to try to get them there, and to try to get them to understand how they need to. I just was on a call today with a guy, helping him work through his budget. Once we had his budget defined, we went to recreate an estimate he had just done last week. And he was, after we were done, he's like, man, like, it was the common story of, I can't charge this for my work, not in my area. And, but the truth is, if you take it for any
Scott's
less,
like, yeah.
It's a big eye-opening process for a lot of people. And in your case, fortunately, it was eye-opening and like, oh, good, we are making money. But there's many that unfortunately are not. And that's what we're trying to help.
Well, what you said, Weston, where people say, I can't charge that. You
Yeah.
have to charge it. Otherwise, you're not going to be a business, or you have to look at how to cut some of those numbers on your overhead or
Yeah.
other ways. But otherwise, you won't be around. That's why we started what we did do, because of this, because we see so many people come and go in the landscape industry.
Mm-hmm.
They start off fine for a little bit, then they're not making money, so they have to get out
But
of it.
this industry is full of people that love to be outside, love to play with equipment, or dig in the
Yeah.
dirt, plant trees, make beautiful things, and maybe not real strong on the business side. And they don't have to be.
Yeah.
Business owner doesn't have to be, as long as they have a person or a system and a process behind them that ensures that everything is well. It's not like if the numbers aren't your thing, just make sure that someone in your business is on top of it, and making sure that is propagating out through your salespeople that are generating estimates.
Yeah.
And when you have the numbers, there's a decent amount of people like me that work with their spouse. And what's cool about having numbers is that it does alleviate the fighting.
Yeah.
Because once we were happy ever after,
Yeah.
once you figure that out, you have a basis, you have like a true figure. Like, I remember I was yelling because my husband like makes things up, and I'm like, you can't just, but luckily he's correct, but still that was luck.
Yeah. And see, the thing is, once you go through this thing of once you actually plug these 6 numbers in and it spits out your overhead
Yeah.
recovery multipliers, then it's standardized. You can put your
Right.
new guy on an estimate and it won't lie. Like if you can run a tape measure and measure like, yeah, I need to make a 400 square foot patio here and plant 15 shrubs around it, you can't go wrong. If you have your hard costs and you're decent at estimating how much labor it's going to take, you pretty much can't go wrong. It standardizes it. And that's another kind of whole side thing to this is, a lot of these business owners are in business for all their life, 15, 20, 30 years, and they get to the end of they're maxed out at what they can do in the size of their business. And they might look at me, hey, I'd like to slow down my life a little bit. But the problem is everything is flowing through them. Everything is right here. And until you put that thing into numbers or systems or processes, start with a spreadsheet if you have to. Get a software like Synced Up, ideally, because that'll save you a lot of time. But it will. That is when you do that. That's when you standardize your operations. And as a business owner, you can just take a step back and kind of put it on autopilot. In that regard.
Set it and forget it. So
Yeah,
let's talk a little bit about Synced Up. You're too young for that reference. Scott might get it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Let's repeat that again.
Set it and forget it.
We use it all the time. I don't know what you're thinking of.
It's Ron Popeil. It was this infomercial that used to be on. They'd make like a food dehydrator. It was.
Oh yeah, yes.
Do you remember now? Yeah. Set it and forget it. So Weston, you talked. There's 2 different things you mentioned. The first is the free spreadsheet, which is it's Synced Up. Can you spell that for us? Because it's not spelled the normal way.
We spelled it wrong, right? Yeah, it's spelled SYNKEDUP, all one word. SYNKEDUP, syncedup.com. And right on the homepage below the header, there's a free spreadsheet download. And when you download it, there'll be a tutorial video there. And that spreadsheet was, like I was saying, it's to try to help people break through that wall of getting a grasp on how numbers work for estimating. And then if you're interested in like, hey, this is great, I love this, I want a tool for this, I want to make this as automated as possible, I want one system to go from budgeting to estimating to tracking all my all the resources I consume out in the field to then do that work. It's one thing to generate your estimate correctly, but then you want to check to know how you're doing, which is called job costing, comparing your estimated versus actual. So if you want one system to go from budgeting, estimating, tracking everything you're doing with labor, materials, and equipment out in the field, coming back with a live automated job cost report, and then right on into invoicing, that's what Synced Up is for. It's a platform to manage that project management life cycle, all the way from a new lead contacting you to job costing and invoicing. So as it hits the office admin, the salesperson, the scheduler, the foreman, back to the office, that whole thing gets handled inside of Synced Up without ever leaving the system. Everybody's accessing information from the same place. Everybody's putting information into the same place. Mobile app for out in the field. A nice browser for interface for building estimates and sending proposals off to the customer in a digital proposal, so they can basically get an email, click on a link without creating an account, and view all the line items you've created in your estimate. All they see is the descriptions and the prices. They can toggle on and off whatever line items of the estimate you've created, approve whatever they want, sign on it, make a down payment, and done. It's sold and ready to schedule.
Would you compare this to something like, just for people's knowledge, like LMN or Jobber?
Yeah.
Why are you laughing, Scott?
Somebody posted a question similar.
Similar to
LMN. Seriously? I can't see the question.
Kind of.
Wow.
So LMN has done a lot of good for the industry in terms of this whole budgeting and estimating thing. They've got that nice. It's good. What they're teaching is what I'm describing here. And we've used them. We've used quite a few softwares in our history with Tussey landscaping. And our frustration was the fact that none of them they all had their strong points, but none of them enabled us to do that entire project management lifecycle that I just described inside of one software. It was like LMN did great with budgeting and estimating. Then out in the field, I'm not going to go into all that, but there was just a lot of missing links. And we always had this dream of like one system that would work seamlessly, smoothly, and bounce between the different roles and go from, office admin with the lead, salesperson with the consultation, estimate, and proposal, scheduler on the calendar, foreman gets the notification in the mobile app, new job, clock in, record all your hours, have access to all of your job information in the mobile app, no more paper job folders, recording all your actual materials and equipment. And all of that has a virtual paper trail of everything that ever gets done, full transparency, full accountability, and you get this beautiful automated job cost report without sitting at your desk 3 hours after dinner at night updating a spreadsheet from a job folder that's 2 weeks old that looked like a rhino trashed it. We've all been there.
No, this one will save so many headaches on every end, whether it's you, the owner, or your secretary, or the people on the field. Like Weston took me behind the scenes and some of that stuff, and it is awesome. Like it is an amazing piece of software. I guarantee you get in there, see the demo, you're gonna fall in love with it. It's gonna be huge for the landscape industry.
I agree. I think it's the new big thing. And
Well,
we knew
thanks.
you when.
Yeah, right.
You can pay me later.
Yeah, can you spell I'll spell the website one more time. S as in Sam, YNKEDUP.com. When you Google it, make sure you search for synced up in one word.
Yeah.
It's not 2 words. And I'm sure we'll be able to put a link in the comments here after the live. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to, so this whole thing of like, yeah, you can do a spreadsheet, you can do a paper notebook, there's other softwares out there. We've used them. And they all have their strong points. Like Jobber has great integrations and, like what you use, Laura. But our vision with Synced Up is to provide that system and process that increases efficiency and enables you to more consistently generate consistent profits. And I recently read a book. It's called Atomic Habits. I can't remember the author's name.
James Clear.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And there's a quote in there that really stuck with me when I read it. It was, you don't rise to the level of your goal, you fall to the level of your process. Meaning, like his analogy was, everybody that wins a race wants to win the race. It's just that there's only going to be one winner, and the winner is the one that had the best process leading up to race day. So everybody wants to make money, everybody wants to make a profit in their business, but the person that is going to make a profit is the person that ensures and builds up the systems and processes to do it on a consistent basis. And ideally do it on a consistent basis that doesn't require you to be in the center of the operation. And that's what Synced Up is essentially for.
Just so everybody knows, I did put the link in Facebook. I'll put it
Cool,
in YouTube
thanks.
here in a bit, but at the very least, go download that website, or not the website, the spreadsheet, I should say.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, if you've never done any or estimating, you're just getting started, or you can't afford these types of things yet, download this. This is I guarantee this will help improve your estimating and improve your business.
100%. You can basically do in a manual way, in a very basic way, what Synced Up does in that spreadsheet. Yeah, there is an app. There's a mobile app, both on iOS and Android.
Which is something that some people complain about with some CRMs, is they don't have one or it's not a very good app.
Right. And
now, Weston, I want to be completely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, most of my career, I worked out in the field. So like the mobile app had to be good. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like a lot of software products kind of let the app be like, oh, it's an afterthought,
Now, I want to have complete openness here. And as you know, there is a reason I'm not using it yet.
Right.
And you know that, right? I'm just being
Yep.
honest so that everyone knows this isn't just a commercial. There's
Yeah,
some things
exactly.
you're developing that haven't been done yet, that because I'm a little more advanced because I sit and do it all the time, that I was looking for something that was also like a CRM that had mail options and could track leads.
Yeah, and all the integrations that you use.
Yeah, the Zapier
Right,
and
so-
the SendGym, and we do all that stuff.
Yeah, I would call you, Laura, I would call you a power user of those CRM features,
Okay.
And if you and you do an amazing job at it. And if you are like Laura, I'll just describe why. I'll just give you a little bit of insight as to why she isn't using Synced Up yet. And that is, we've focused at the last 5 years of development on the whole project management lifecycle, like the field efficiency, the operations side, the scheduling, the tracking, all of that stuff. We felt that was the biggest weakness. I mean, there are CRM tools dime a dozen. There's not really a need. I mean, there's not like a lack in the market for those, but that was where we felt the lack in the market. So that's where we focus all of our energy. However, and that's what Synced Up is as of today, right now. And it does have basic CRM capabilities with tagging, and yeah, it has basic CRM capabilities, but not like the integrations and the Zapier Zaps, like everything that Laura uses. However, we have a bunch of companies on Synced Up right now. And if you're like Laura, a power user of CRM, you take a look at Synced Up and see if the efficiencies out in the field are enough to convince you to use whatever you're using for CRM and use Synced Up for project management. But if you're a person in the position of like, hey, you got scattered processes, estimating is done from the hip or guessing or in someone's head from 20 years of experience. Yeah. Scheduling is a mess, or tracking things is a mess, or job costing isn't getting done because who knows why. That's what Synced Up serves and solves problems for right now. Yes, you can have multiple employees entering data as long as you have user accounts for them.